Monsieur.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Zainal. I'm very glad. Hi, Aaron. I'm very glad to meet you again, even if we do have to do it. Oh, hi, Radu. Professor Ilescu is with us. I'm very glad to be together again, even if it's electronically, not in the direct way. So, first of all, of course, I thank you very much because we are here and with us are very, very many guests, which I see here in this list. And I think that it's a good idea to start with a plan for today. So it means that as we've decided, we'll start with a short presentation of Telson on both sides of the partnership in Czech Republic and in Romania. After that, we'll continue with a presentation of BCMCI, which is the project developed in partnership with our colleagues from University of Košice, and Jaro Mažernik and Dr. Tehnici will make a presentation about this project in Slovakia and in Romania. And we'll end with a presentation of Clever, which will end this month. And here, I invite Andrea Pokorna from Masaryk University and Georgian Agriculture from our university to say nice words about Clever, which is a very clever project. So it means that before this, I'll kindly ask Professor Ilescu, who is Vice Rector of our university, to say to send us his salute, because he has other event in half an hour. So first of all, I invite Professor Ilescu, and after that we'll continue. Okay?
Thank you very much, Adrian, for the introduction. It's really a privilege for me to be here with you all. It's great to see Daniel Schwarz from Masaryk University and his colleagues, long-standing partners of our university in a lot of endeavors. I think we're close, if we didn't pass the mark of 10 years of close and really fruitful collaboration. So welcome back. It's as I said, a pleasure for me to be here. I speak on behalf of the leadership of the university to really, first of all, congratulate you on everything you've done so far with Telson and Clever, the two projects where our university and Masaryk University are partners. Everything that you've done so far, the university sees as a pilot, and it fits perfectly, in my opinion, in the strategy of the university. The strategy of the university is to improve on the delivery of the curricula and on the medical education. With the start of the pandemic in 2020, we were really fortunate, I would say, that with the help of our IT department led by Mr. Adrian Ciuranu, we were able in less than a month to switch completely on to an online learning process. Technically, that was extremely challenging, socially as well. And that has taught us a few lessons. First of all, the adaptability to the new techniques, in terms of the university and teachers and students using it. But it has also taught us the fact that we are not ready to adapt the content to the new techniques. So basically, it was like a mirror that was put in front of us about the way that we teach medicine. We realized quickly that delivering lectures and well, let's say practical lessons online, the way that we did it in real life is definitely not enough. And therefore, we have identified many of the let's say not necessarily flaws, but inadaptability to the new learning experience that is needed in order to provide education in medicine, medical related fields, and medical science. So I really do believe that the new approaches that you have actually piloted through these two projects that are coming to an end, and I really wish they will continue under different shapes and forms, will allow us to actually, as soon as possible, start our curricular reform process that has been decided by the leadership of the university, and obviously by providing tools to integrate this new approach to teaching and learning in medicine. I don't want to take much of your time. I will be here with you for a while. I can't wait to hear the presentations about what's been done so far and how everybody in the university has profited from what you've created together with Daniel and the partners at Masaryk. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Professor Iliescu. We are very glad to be with us. When the other task will determine the switch, you may say, and will forgive me your absence. So let's go further. First of all, let's start to present the main core of these three projects. And I'll start with Professor Tehnici. I'll continue with Georgiana Gâlcă and Gabriela Ștefănescu, who is here on my left side. And after that, I'll continue with my colleagues, Bogdan Stoica, Cristi Stan, and Ionuț Nistor. And also, I'll present my very dear students, which I'm most content. I'm very proud to recruit them 4 years ago when they viewed my student in their first year. I'll start with Livia Petroi, who is here, and Karina, who is there, Karina Păslă, and Victor Ciopeică and Matei Păuleț, and here is Bogdan Ștefănescu and Șerban Veche. So I'm very thankful to you all. I'm very proud of you all, and be very sure that I'm very glad that, in my opinion, we've done a very good thing. In fact, we put the seeds, nothing more. But with your help and their future help, I think that we'll be able to implement these modern techniques, teaching techniques in our university. So with us also, I'll say again because I have to thank them again, is Andrea Pucorna from Masaryk University, Jaro Majernik from University of Košice, and Daniel Zwart also from Masaryk University. I thank you very, very much. And I'm very sure that this partnership will continue. So for today, I'll begin with a short history, let's say. And after that, we'll continue with the presentation I've told you from the beginning. So it means that, that I'll share my screen now. My screen is not, yeah. I'll share my screen immediately. I really don't. Why I didn't. I think that I didn't share what I wanted. So I'll reshare. So I wanted to share the PowerPoint, but not that one. Yeah, I have. My PowerPoint is here. Do you see this presentation? No, it's not this one. I'll close it. Sorry. Sorry, my presentation is, I've closed my presentation, but I'll open it again. So this is. I had both presentation, mine and Georgiana's, and of course it was very spectacular because I shared the presentation of Georgiana. So that's my presentation, not Georgiana. Look, I'm very glad to tell you that these projects started in 2016. When I've been in Brno, it was a very, very, very pleasant stay. And when I worked with Daniel, maybe 2 or 3 hours designing the projects. Here you see a part of the board that we've written there, planning these 3 projects. Here we made an inventory, what are the target groups, and here we decided to meet in Sucevița. That was a moment when Sucevița appeared for the first time in our project. Finally, we put we together, but mainly Daniel, put on paper, and this was the way of planning 3 very clever projects, which had a very clever philosophy. It means that we decided to learn to implement in University of Medicine in Iași, to implement the mechanism of structuring curriculum. And that's why we decided to create BCM in Kai and this project where we choose as pilot anatomy, and that's why Professor Kancher will tell us about our experience, and also Jaro Majernik will present the project. In fact, formalizing the curriculum is the main component of these new modern techniques, because teaching techniques, because without formalizing curriculum, it's very hard to implement. It's impossible, in fact, to implement virtual patients and TBL and PBL. After that, the second project was clever, is clever. Here we developed, we've planned 24, but we've developed more than 30 virtual cases. using the mechanism of formalizing curriculum from BCMI. And here, our friend Andrea Pocorna and Georgiana will present the entire project. And also the third project was Telson, which used the virtual cases and the formalized curriculum in these two projects to implement PBL and TBL sessions in both our universities, in Maastricht University and in Yale. And I think that it was a success in terms of the image and the opinion of students. So, for everybody, I want to thank you very much to everybody, and I want to say again that I'm grateful for all your efforts. They've done a very good thing, and I think that we will build successful things here. So now I kindly ask Yaro to present our project for formalizing curriculum, and we'll go further. Okay?
Yes, hi everybody, can you hear me?
Yeah, Yaro, it's okay.
Okay, I will try to share my screen. I hope that everything will work. Just give me a second. So, can you see it now?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. So, first of all, before I will start, let me shortly introduce myself. My name is Jaroslav Majernik, and I'm a head of Department of Medical Informatics here in Košice at Pavel Jozef Šafarik University and Faculty of Medicine. And I had pretty nice time with Daniel, Andrea, and Adrian and his colleagues as well during these 3 years of our work, intensive work. So, especially in this COVID and pandemic era, I'm very happy that this meeting was organized in this way, because we missed a lot of opportunities to meet in person. But now we can conclude also those activities. So hopefully all of you who worked at those 3 mentioned projects, you had quite well experiences or quite good experiences. But maybe the second half of this projects or period for these projects was not so good because of COVID pandemic and other restrictions we faced too. But anyway, all the outputs of all 3 mentioned projects are in electronic form, and they are shared for teachers as well as for the students. So this is the advantage and also the challenge of the future. So I hope that as the vice rector of the university mentioned, this is maybe something like the piloting event, but or piloting results we have, but hopefully they all will be implemented in the future days, months, maybe years, with effect and with inspiration for other projects or other initiatives. And let's go back to BSIM project. This is a project that deals with topics related to curriculum management or things we all need if we want to teach our students, or if we want to offer some skills, experiences, and other materials the students use to learn and to improve not only their skills and things they use in their daily practice, but also something related to critical thinking. Maybe some of you who wasn't involved in those projects will ask the question, why the curriculum? Is it a topic to do some research here? Maybe yes, maybe no, but if you will ask your students, what do you think about the curriculum, maybe many of them will answer you, what's the problem? That's just the course you offer to us, and that's it, or list of courses you offer. But I also had this opinion when I was student. So simply I need to pass the courses and then I have to get the grades and I go forward. But now we have to say yes, that's for sure not like this, not only the list of courses we have. This also refers to knowledge and skills you or your students will obtain or will learn. So we have to think that yes, the curriculum consists of many learning activities, including learning standards, learning objectives and outcomes and units, some lessons we plan as well as the study materials and for the students maybe not so grateful, but maybe some assessment methods we need in our education processes. So this is a more complex problem or more complex topic. So I can say that can you imagine what is the perfect or what is the ideal curriculum? If we have some more time, of course, we can discuss it. But maybe the first answers in your brains will be something like, okay, so maybe it's something that is tailored to our learning outcomes. But do we have our learning outcomes? Maybe many of us for sure not. And I have to say, I didn't specify even in my courses the learning outcomes in previous years, but I'm starting to change it to have more efficient curricula, as well as something like the curriculum maps we will briefly mention today. And maybe there will be another question related to something like, is it something that allows us correct sorting of content? Yeah? But what kind of content? Only of my course or only courses related to my branch or all the courses? That's something, again, open and broad. So there are various teaching times as well, teaching methods involved, and will the methods and the curriculums involved in those courses we will offer to our students oriented to students, or it will be still something like this teacher-centered approach. So there are many questions that have to be solved and answered. Some of them I will try to mention, and once you will try to follow our outputs at the BSIM web page, you will be able to find more and more facts we discovered. So let's briefly summarize the facts about the BSIM project. This is not only the initiative between Masaryk University and the UMF University in Jarzyn and UPJS here in Košice, but we had also the partners in Poland, and there was a contact person, Andrzej Kononowicz, many of you probably know him, and as well as from Germany we had Inga Hege, who is pretty clever and a smart person in these topics related even to curriculum as well as to virtual patients that were pointed or discussed in a clever project. If I can briefly summarize what the BSIM project about. Simply, we try to deliver methodologies and something like unified ICT platform for optimization of curricula, especially at medical faculties, and at 5 medical faculties at those countries and at those institutions I just mentioned. But also I have to say that methodologies we worked on are generalizable, and they can be used also in other study areas or other branches, not only in medicine. But our point of interest, of course, is medicine or medical curriculum. And I have another question, of course, if we can share some information about this, or we can do something like the brainstorming. I'm pretty sure that we will receive, or we could be able to receive many different answers, but it's something that you have to bear in mind, and it is not just a big learning plan or something for your course as I started. This is something that for sure sooner or later you will face for a changes or for making some changes and updates in your curriculum. So what kind of changes it can be done, or I mean for sure, maybe there will be changes needed from the practice because some new methods or new technologies will be implemented in maybe medicine or medical practice or diagnostic methods or whatever else. So for sure, this will need also to change thinking about the way we teach our students. Maybe there will be a need for accreditation purpose or process to deliver the methods and curricula content and such related topics, as well as maybe you will discover that after a few years or months, your students will receive some unusual results of the tests or assessment scores. So maybe you will have to revise maybe the sequence of tests or outputs, or maybe the assessment approach at all. So this is something that also has to be involved in the answer, how to effectively manage the curriculum. But for sure, we have to integrate and maintain the curricula up to date, and we should integrate different standards, even at the national, maybe also at the international levels as well. So this is something that all of you know because you are requested by Ministry of Education of the countries. So yes, something wrong?
No, that's okay.
I can hear some voices. I'm not sure if you lost my connection or something wrong. If not, I will continue. So the another questions will be how to implement or integrate such standards, rules, and legislations in individual study programs and disciplines. Many of you are pretty stressed if you are involved in curriculum management and if you use typical paper-based forms. So probably you were so stressed that there are deadlines or some terms and what's to change and how to effectively offer them to accreditation bodies and so on and so on. But if there will be something like the electronic way and the databases with curriculum maps, this for sure will simplify the work and will help you to organize it. Any other aspects that must be involved in thinking of curriculum should, as I introduced at the beginning, should realize if this is still teacher-centered approach oriented only on topics and scheduling of the topics, or it will be something like based and oriented on students and on teachers. So outcome-based education approach should be preferred. We think it's a better way to reach our goals and to produce, let's say, smarter and more clever students and ready to be prepared for the praxis. And in this relation, I mentioned the topic of curriculum mapping. So what is it good for, or what kind of advantages we can obtain with this? For sure, it should be built on the philosophy or with the approach that we will find the answers and we will be able to identify them, as well as our students who will check the curriculum, what is taught, how it is taught, and how the learning outcomes are assessed finally to achieve the goals we stated in particular curriculum. So in this way, I have to say that curriculum management and mapping is not the same. We have to differentiate it. In many discussions I conducted with persons and teachers, they thought that it's the same, but no, the curriculum management is a systematic approach. So we have to consider it as a whole activities covering process, including development, analysis, and optimization of the curriculum. And curriculum mapping is one essential step or one essential part in curriculum management. Usually, you can imagine it as some links and structural functional blocks of the curriculum connected together, and something that tries to transform related documents into the, let's say, searchable database. What does it mean, searchable? Something that can be used anytime, anywhere, mostly by the students, but also by the teachers who conduct the courses. and to find those relations in a connection to three main questions or answers. So within the systematic curriculum mapping, so we can say that a single teacher may create a curriculum map for the subject he or she conduct, and other teachers will be able to do the same, and finally we will obtain a big curriculum map or curriculum map that will cover everything. We should not think about a single teacher's problems, because the curriculum mapping will offer most effective ways and processes that should result in a curriculum of at least entire faculty, if not entire university. So this must be done, and a certain level of collaboration among teachers and educators must be involved here as well. And of course, if you ask what is it good for, this collaboration, I mean, so maybe all of us can benefit from this systematic curriculum mapping, because we can find there even horizontal or vertical coherence across the courses, study years, and so on, but also the details about the subject areas and interdisciplinary relations. And now maybe you will probably answer, okay, so I already have my curriculum map, maybe everything is clear, I just need to rearrange it slightly and it's done, because I know what to tell to my students, and I know what's they will achieve at the end. Yeah. But just shortly inform you about the difference between the curriculum map and the lesson plan. I will just summarize that, yes, the curriculum map should be considered in a comprehensive way as something broader than a simple lesson plan is. Yeah? It should consist of all courses and the topics and the learning objectives and outcomes and such facts. On the other side, the lesson plan we usually have, maybe we work them with our students, and we offer them to our students for many years. The better way will be to change this way or this approach, and then using the systematic curriculum mapping, we will find the advantages I already mentioned. But how the project BSIME can help in this issue, or can help with this management, or curriculum management, or at least curriculum mapping process. So this is what we wanted to create and also to offer to the users. It means to all teachers and students and also faculty managements, at least at those 5 faculties that are involved here. And those are 3 main areas or 3 main components that were produced. And we have to say that it's something like manuals related to the best practice on curriculum innovation in medical studies. Yeah. This is the first. Another one is also a platform that allowed us to specify so-called outcome-based metadata descriptions of selected parts of the curriculum. Naturally, we also have to say that the results are pilot results because we didn't map all curriculum or full curriculum of all faculties. We just selected few most common courses. One discipline that was described by all the partners, that was the anatomy, and all the other partners described in their local languages. 5 optional disciplines, but the results are pretty good and nice, and the platform, I can say, works pretty well because it was adapted to the needs of all 5 institutions as we identified. And of course, the least but not last one is the best practice we applied into the results. So something that was the confirmation of the needs analysis, that yes, the teachers and educators wanted to have this, and including the facts that the curriculum must be equipped with. And we try to answer their requests by the functions and features of the platform that was developed. Of course, it is still open for other improvements or other ways to do something more if there will be a special need of one particular institution. And basically, I have to say that no institution, even in Jaś, in Košice, in Krakow, in Brno, had some specific position of the person that was solely involved only in a curriculum design or in a curriculum management, yeah? But only the university in Augsburg had this position. That's maybe a question for the management of the faculties or maybe universities to change the thinking about the ways how we organize the curricula, and maybe to have something like a professional that will be employed at our faculties and will supervise the persons or teachers to help them in identification of individual objectives and results we want to have in curricula. Of course, there were many other problems and requests we identify, and as the result of this approach was something like the curriculum system concept or map of these problems that should be involved, identified, and included in a, let's say, proper curriculum mapping. So they involve the users, user roles, opportunities to import and export data, some relation components and information that will check the gaps in curricula, as well as some overlaps, because many times we discover that, oh, that's the problem, because the same topic or the same problems are taught in different courses at different study years. And there should be opportunities to search, there should be opportunities to involve the legislation rules, to produce the reports, to evaluate learning outcomes, to do some analysis of the content, as we did across 5 institutions within the anatomy, and so on and so on. So it is a broad and concept that for sure must be considered and implemented, not within few days, but for sure it takes time to change our thinking about the outcome-based education curricula. And as a result, as I mentioned, the most important output of the project is an EduPortfolio platform. It was developed within the project, and I have to thank the Martin Komenda and his team, including Daniel Schwartz and other colleagues from Masaryk University, because they developed and implemented our requests into this platform, and also they prepared 5 different language mutations of this platform for us. It means all our institutions, they have those this platform in our national languages. So if you try to use this platform, probably you discovered everything how it works, and maybe also the advantages of this unified platform for something like curriculum optimization processing. The system is based on functional teaching blocks, and is specified and characterized by some parameters that specify the structure of the curriculum, and also some national standards and also some international recommendations were involved here, as we identified in intellectual output too. But all those details are too broad to be mentioned in a short summary of the project, and I will, at the end of the presentation, I will share you the link where you can download everything, or you can check if you will be interested in all the details of this outputs we achieved. So basically the management of the curricula consists of the blocks like study programs, medical disciplines, courses in those disciplines, learning units, and related learning outcomes. And finally, it wasn't there at the beginning of our ideas, but we find it useful to have also the study materials directly embedded in this structured form of curriculum maps, so everyone can find which book or part of the book is recommended for to achieve particular learning outcome of the particular learning units or courses. So in our way, as I already mentioned, we did the piloting activity, and at all 5 universities we mapped anatomy as the main course in or branch in medicine, or study of the medicine. And this was mapped and equipped also with the graphical components, so everyone can browse the curricula and can see all the details, starting from the topic means study programs and ending at the end by the outcomes of the curricula. So all those things are clearly visible and also browsable by the users that are usually the students, as I already mentioned. So this is done. This is the platform that really works and offers completely different concept of the work with the curricula we used till now, at least here in Košice, and as our partners reported also at their institutions. But as I said, it is a long-term process. For example, we try to map the discipline related to conservative and prosthetic dentistry in the Slovak language here in Košice. The neurosurgery was mapped in Yash and other branches in other partner institutions, but initially when we thought that it will be a simple process, we didn't discover that it will be, as I mentioned a couple of times, a time-consuming process. We discovered all the courses and topics that were involved in this dentistry study, and the conservative dentistry had 6 another different courses in different study years, as well as the prosthetic dentistry had 6 different courses in different study years that make this process more difficult. Each of the materials that were basically or historically mostly teacher-centered curricula with the description, who has the lecture, what is the topic of this lecture, and that's it. Who have the exercise or practical lesson, and what is the topic, and no ideas, no outcomes, no other descriptions were available in such descriptions or with such content of particular courses. So finally we had to combine those list of syllabus from with the information letters, and there were another pages where some of the descriptions and recommended literature was mentioned, but we were asked to transform something from 1 or 2 sentences as the results of the study to learning outcomes and to learning objectives, and to describe it in a more structured way. So if you can imagine this effort, so we had more than 60 pages of such unstructured materials covering hundreds of hours and practical lessons, and 43 ECT credits. That's a quite big portion, and only in those 2 parts of the dental medicine. And the result was quite surprising, because we identified over 200 learning units and over 500 learning outcomes. But let's go back to anatomy. All our institutions describe the anatomy, and we identify that there are differences across the partners. We have just 1 discipline, but at UMF and at university in Augsburg and even at Masaryk University, they categorize it into the 2 or 3 disciplines, even corresponding amount of courses. But finally, they were comparable amount of learning of outcomes described. So the biggest portion was in Augsburg, that is the almost twice big as in other partners, but it is because another important fact, none of our countries, they have national learning objective catalogs. We one in Germany for general medicine as well as dental medicine. And also the colleagues from Poland, they have some learning objective catalogs at the level of Ministry of Health, but we didn't identify any in other countries. That's another challenge and appeal to force such activities and initiatives in Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Romania as well, and to start to work on something like this that will help to compare content of curricula of particular branches, at least in the medicine. That will be pretty fine and pretty useful. And most of the works that were mentioned in our learning outcomes, we expect our our students will achieve, was mostly something that explained or described or characterized. So, but there was a lot of things that students are able to demonstrate something or to analyze something. So we have to also work on this approach and to change our thinking about this. If I briefly describe the outputs we wanted to achieve, we describe our outputs, learning outcomes, also with the Bloom's taxonomy. All of you know, but if you can check it, mostly all of those outcomes we had were just factual. That's not really good. The better one it was, again in Germany, that relates especially with this learning objective catalogs, and those objectives were focused on some conceptual activities. Also, we try to recognize some cognitive levels, and that's pretty fine. At UMF, they almost 37% of the outcomes were related to the apply activity, but in all other institutions, the majority of the outcomes were focused only something to understand. But I think it's not enough. Yeah? We have to know, we have to understand, but we also should be able to apply it into the praxis and to analyze in the context of, let's say, critical thinking. So just to prepare the conclusion of this short overview, if we will try to think about the curriculum maps, and we will try to understand then why to use this, we should find the answers in the way that this will help us to solve many problems, and maybe to identify what kind of events in specific topics are planned in the curriculum, and what is the next topic that will be needed to complete certain parts or to achieve learning outcomes. Or we should understand that usually it contains the hierarchical representation of entire curriculum, and that we will be able to get the outcomes for various bodies, even for the faculty management or accreditation purposes. There are some recommendations I can recommend to you if you will try to think to transform your, let's say, teacher-centered curricula to something like curriculum map, and maybe try to use only some authentic processes, only what you really do with your students. Yeah? There is no need to put there any specific details like in learning plans, yeah? But try to specify and to share with your students learning outcomes, just to be able to know and to check that yes, everything was completed and the students really know it, really apply it, and so on and so on. If there are some verbs that can be described, try to use all the Bloom's taxonomy that will help it to identify the details of the curriculum they used. And finally, I have to say that if we think about this way, we know that now there are some tools that can help us, if not exactly the tools that are commercial ones, maybe the edu portfolio we produced as the result of the BSIM project. So hopefully this will be a really good starting point to use it and to think about the changes in the curricula. as I already mentioned, if you will be interested in our outputs, just visit the BSIM webpage. That is pretty simple link, BSIM@upjs.sk, and you will find also the brochures and materials that are available to the public for free, of course. Thank you very much for your attention. Sorry for the time. I'm ready for some questions if there will be, or we will continue with other projects as Adrian proposed.
Thank you very much, Yaro. I invite my colleague Cristina Tănceru to present our experience in BSIM project.
Hello. Hello. First of all, I want to say that it was a great. I want to say that it was a great opportunity for us to have a part in this curriculum, and I want to share.
Just a minute. Okay, now it's perfect. Okay.
And I want to share you some ideas of our experience in this project. First, why anatomy? And here are a few reasons. Because it's a descriptive subject, being easier to structure, common notions and terms across all partner universities that facilitates data comparison, large amount of information across many sources, so emphasizes the need for data centralization. Students are already familiar with the curriculum. Anatomy curriculum, in our experience, comprises 4 parts with a variable number of learning units. And these learning units are describing anatomical terms, descriptive anatomy, and embryological terms, using important terms and keywords in nomina anatomica, and also learning methods. 2 learning units correspond learning outcomes. And here we have an example of 1 learning unit with 4 learning outcomes that show clinical impact and the importance of clinical anatomy. Study materials are centralized, so this platform facilitates an easy access to the information, to the study materials for all parties that are involved, and is another advantage. Also, the platform facilitates cooperation with partner universities, this being the base for future improvements. And here we can see the number of learning outcomes and learning units in our experience, the anatomy curriculum. Also, the analysis of the outcomes shows the different results for all partners. In the following tables, you can see highlighted the most prevalent dimension regarding the Bloom's cognitive process for all partners. For 1 partner, the most prevalent, remember, for 3 partners, understand, and 4 R's in our university was applied. Analyze, evaluate, and create are less frequent dimensions used. So this analyze, we think that can help to analyze these results, can help to analyze the results and also to find ways to improve the results. we can conclude that well-structured, centralized, and easily accessed information is the future of learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. I propose you the following scenario. We'll continue with the presentation of all projects, and at the end we'll plan the question and answer session in order to present all projects, and after that to create the environment for questioning. So that's why now I want to invite Andreea Pocorna to, no, I'm lying. I want to invite Daniel to be very kind and to tell us about Telson. Yes, please Daniel, be my guest and present the second project from our team.
Okay, thank you very much. I will just check the technicalities. Can you hear me and can you see the slide?
Very nice, very well.
Okay, so hello everyone, dear colleagues and friends. Thank you for having me at this event. My name is Daniel. I'm with Masaryk University Faculty of Medicine. Currently, I'm mostly engaged at the new Simulation Center and the Department of Simulation Medicine here, where I am responsible for implementation of collaborative learning and the related virtual patient modality. And today I was asked to talk mainly about the experience resulting from the Telson project, which was one of the strategic partnerships between our universities. So I will mostly talk about this, about collaborative learning, which is in fact a social act where the participants are talking and communicating with each other. In other words, the students are not only listeners, but also and mainly active learners. And what you can observe in this picture, which is from the Simulation Center, from a special room with a spatial layout facilitating the TBL. So what you can observe here is that the students are really engaged, and what we are having from them is this a typical feedback from our students who take part in the TBL lessons. So it looks like they are not disappointed, and having this attention and engagement of the students is something why I'm loving my job of being the educator at university. But those feelings are pretty subjective. So my question is, how can I measure the satisfaction? Is there a way to get it and see it in the data? And I think that the answer is yes, I think so. Nowadays at the Simulation Center, we are using something we call Learner Experience Survey. And this is what was developed in the project Telson, in the Telson project. And since then, we have used it for measuring the satisfaction in tens of events, such as summer schools and other events involving mainly team-based learning lessons. The questionnaire is pretty standardized, which means that we are not the only institutions who use it, but there are also other across Europe. So you are welcome to use it as well. Here are some references from which we were building the questionnaires together with St. George's University in London and, of course, with your university in Iași. Besides this pretty standardized questionnaire, Telson has delivered also a series of virtual scenarios. I'm not using here or pronouncing the term virtual patients because we were working not only in medicine, but also in life sciences, such as mathematical biology. So you can see here some virtual scenarios focusing on biostatistics, but also on clinical medicine. These cases came from your institution, and we were very happy about this. Also, one of the key, or I'm feeling that one of the key outcome of the project is a video. You can find it on the website. And the video was made by the colleagues from United Kingdom, and the video is delivering several key messages about TBL and PBL, and it's worth of seeing it. So after these, or having gained very good results and feedback from the TBL lessons which were organized during the project, we also organize other following pilots and following TBL lessons. In fact, there were two quite big evening schools of TBL lessons. I have entitled this evening schools because it was always really in the evening hours. Each lesson took 3 hours, and there were around 30 to 50 participating students. And what I would like to show you is what came out of the data from these TBL pilots. So we have collected data and built something on this. What we have built is a well-pronounced goals, objectives for further possible continuous research in pedagogy. So here you can read the objectives. I will not hear them. Please just read this. And this is in terms of objectives. But what is maybe more interesting is the hypothesis which we can underpin with the data with the statistical significant results. And here I'd like to draw your attention to the first one, where I am writing that there's no matter how scrupulous the instructional design of the TBL lesson and how uniformly teachers are trained for it, the resulting learning experience varies among students depending on the teacher's personality. And this was really something which I did not expect when I was preparing the project, because I thought, and I also acted as a very scrupulous trainer of trainers. So I was preparing our facilitators and our content experts in terms of very rigid structure of the TBL lessons. But what came out of the data was that the teacher's personality impact the final satisfaction of the students much more than the structure. Nowadays, the conditions are not ideal at all. It's really difficult to dig deeper into pedagogy in times when we have to wear the masks. Students are sometimes only online. So it's not very collaborative environment. It's difficult to observe emotions. The conditions are not ideal. But when the conditions are ideal, I would say that usually it's always that we perceive that the conditions are not ideal. So let me just think about what we have to do now. I think that we have to be something like endurance athletes, because the conditions are not always ideal. Sometimes it's wet and cold, but you have to go and pedal for hours. And after the rain is finished, you get off the bike and you have to run in mud again for hours. And after all, it's you who are ahead of the others. And usually this is perceived as a success, not only in races. So here I would like to finish my talk with these take-home messages. I think that collaborative learning is worth the efforts. In terms of the two methods which we trialed, we found out, based on a really good data set, that the TBL is more cost-effective than PBL. There are still new trends which are emerging. I'd like to draw your attention to something very new, which I'm now uncovering, and this is escape room pedagogy. So be my guest and explore it. And the final remark is that the Erasmus Plus strategic partnerships are meaningful because we can learn from each others and share the experience, share the data, as it was in Telson. And I will be always full of positive emotions about these projects. So thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to Georgiana talk.
Now Bogdan Stoica will...
oh, sorry. All talks. Sorry.
No problem. Georgiana will talk with Andrea about Clever. So I invite Bogdan Stoica, who will share his screen. Yeah. So I hate speaking with mask. Believe me, it's with mask. It's amazing. So it means that. So. No, middle. Okay. So Bogdan, take the floor.
Hello. I hope you can see and you can hear me well enough. Sorry for my mask. My presentation will be about these two modern techniques, TBL and PZL, and will reflect maybe our university experience about these pilot experiments for us, TBL and PBL. So first of all, let's define the study groups. We used 64 students, which were in groups of 32 students for 2 TBL sessions in the same time. We have a name for every TBL session, the TBL room and amphitheater. It doesn't matter too much, but names also. 2 groups of 10 students were for 4 PBL sessions and a group of 24 observers. A lot of observers for PBL. About the results of our PBL and PBL experience. Both PBL and PBL have a positive impact on the way that students learn, as you will see later. They provide that for our students, these modern techniques are a good possibility to recite faster than normal all the information they need, and also they have a very good feedback about this type of techniques. Now, some of the students' conclusions, as proven by the reports. On this slide, we can see what they think about the possibility of development of the problem-solving skills. And as you can see on the screen, a lot of them are in the right part of the screen. They also agree. And of course, the PBL section seems to have more affinity, more love for the PBL than for the PBL session in our experience. Also, about this possibility, if the TBL and PBL allow the students to work as a part of the team. Of course, we have a lot of students which think that it's true. This is a true possibility. And also in this slide and the other one, like here, it's the same. The PBL session have a more affinity than the TBL session. About the situation concern the possibility of independently learning. As you can see, a lot of students think that this is a real possibility. And also the affinity was higher for the PBL than for the TBL. Now, because our targets are the students, also our critics are the students. So the students are also the critics, and it's very important to know the feedback from our students. Here you can see that a lot of students have a very good feedback, a positive feedback. They think that it's a good idea. They think that we can replace the classic techniques of learning with these modern techniques of learning. As you can see here, I will read only one, I think it's enough. It was helpful, gave us important data, and facilitated the process of reading and understanding the data for the clinical case. Also, it offered us the correct answer so we could evaluate ourselves, they said. Now, we know for sure that this is a positive response for both session of TBL and PBL. Maybe it was a little better for PBL, but it was for both sessions was a positive response. And for sure that means our students, almost all our students, love to work in teams. That means also that the students enjoyed all the sessions, and that means in future we must do more than that to try to really implement all the methods in the real life of our university. Thank you.
Thank you, Bogdan. Thank you very much. Now we'll switch to Clever, our main reason of being today here. This event, in fact, it's a multiplying event and also the closing conference of Clever. And I'm very pleased to invite Andrea to tell us, to present us the idea of virtual patients and also the way of implementing virtual patients and virtual scenarios in Maastricht University. And after that, Georgiana will present our experience in this field during the Clever project.
Thank you very much, Adrian. It's not easy to speak after all these presentations because most of the things have been already mentioned, especially when the Telson and Clever are very similar projects, which are supported by Daniel, and I respect him as a very clever man. And the man who is more involved in this kind of work. My name is Sandra Pokorna, as you have heard already, and I work as a Vice Dean at the Maastricht University Faculty of Medicine, and I'm a Vice Dean for non-medical studies and informational technologies. But always I need some clever people around me who are helping me and who are sometimes working on the ideas which I have and I'm unable to make them real. So I don't want to spend a lot of time with my presentation, but still I have some slides where I would like to go a little bit back into a little bit theory of virtual patients or case studies and their usage, but it will be very, very short, as I think most of the things has been already mentioned, as I said. I have to find the appropriate presentation and hopefully you can see it. Can you?
Yeah, very well, very nice.
Perfect. So what goals have been achieved during the Clever project? I think, as I said, that Daniel and all the other colleagues are able to better explain it, because I was, of course, collaborator, but my professional background is in nursing and healthcare, and this project was focusing on the medical education and medical students. But in fact, and it was mentioned also today, medical students have to collaborate with others. So as we all know, when we want to learn something, it's the best way to do it, and it's the learning by doing. And if we want to speak about the basic facts and rules in the usage of virtual patients or other scenario-based learning in medical education or healthcare professional education, it has to be done only by properly trained educators. So during the Clever, we have educated people from not only from Romania, but there will also involve people from the Czech Republic. I will close this window and it will be better. So as you know, most of us is normally using traditional case study as a casuistry, which is studying. But through this project, Telson and both Clever, we have used the special type of more learner or student-oriented approach, where we also use the multidisciplinary approach and different safety educational environment, because we all think that when the students have the possibility to learn something by themselves, but then discuss it with others and have also feedback, it's always more effective, and we call it also dynamic process of education. But if we want to be focused more on students and switch from the teacher-centered approach to the student-centered approach, it's not so easy. So we need some different people than we have used before. So we need facilitators, we need some personal model people, and I'm very happy that Daniel has spoken about the influence of the personality of teachers, because it's very important. And we need to use the cooperative learning strategies where the facilitators and delegators are used. So all these things could be used in collaborative learning, in face-to-face education, but also during the PBL and TBL, and maybe also in a flipping classrooms or in a different type of education, especially influenced by COVID-19. And we all know that each method has some specifics concerning the space, roles, time frames, and so on, but all of them could be still student-centric. And we do hope, and it was mentioned several times today, that it could help to make a partnership among the students and instructors. Here are some pictures which I've used from the meeting we have had in Romania, and I still have it in my mind as a great time spent all together with very clever people from Romania, medical experts, and also colleagues from Košice and from Masaryk University. And you can see how they worked actively and how they prepared the virtual cases or virtual scenarios, and how they had to present it. It was not easy, because I think in that time it was for the first time they've been introduced, or they've been familiarized with these activities, but they were really able to present their views, to argue, and to discuss it, and this was very enriching for all of us. So how we are using the virtual patients or virtual scenarios at Masaryk University. Here you can see one example, which is very well known in our country. It's produced in Czech and also in English. And there are some virtual cases which are from different perspectives prepared, from the medical scientific, from educational and didactical, and also from personal, because we think that we shouldn't teach students only some knowledge and afterwards skills, which is not always possible through the virtual space, but they have to have some physical or some face-to-face meetings. But we are also teaching students or changing their attitudes to their profession, to their future medical and healthcare professional life. So you can see how we are using it. These interactive algorithms are for the students available, and they can work on them in their free time. But then we are also using them for the PBL and TBL. And it's very important because it could change the view on the team-based working and on the multidisciplinary approach in the clinical practice. Here I've used one slide which I've seen in Daniel's presentation, and it was very interesting for me how he's using tibial methods when the virtual patients are presenting. And Daniel has also some time frame which he suggests for that. And why I'm showing it to you, because I'm also using TBL methods in non-medical students education, especially in the groups of students who are not from one professional study program. I'm using it for general nurses and for midwives and for paramedics. And we haven't been able to use this time frame, never, because the discussion was always longer. So I have to learn, Daniel, from you to be more strict sometimes. Maybe I'm not as good as you in this, but it's very interesting for me, and I do hope you will also use it. And this framework is very useful and is working, but not even for me. And I think I'm quite experienced teacher, but still I have something to learn. And this is something what I wanted to highlight. In every educational activities, we need systematic approach, and this is maybe more needed for VPs creation. If you will drive by the car and there will be 40, 70 and 50 afterwards, how can you even manage it? It's maybe for the Czech Republic nowadays because we have some snow calamity in our country and lots of troubles on the roads. But in education and even in the normal life, it's impossible. So we have to be aware that before we want to present some virtual patients to students, we should know their level of knowledge, because then we can overcome some common mistakes, which I will show you on the next slides. I don't want to read them, and I hope that you will have these presentations after the meeting available. But what is the biggest mistake in relation to the virtual patients usage is the feeling of being done. You are never done when you are creating learning materials in general, and it applies more for virtual patients in particular, because it's a never-ending story, and it's even harder if you are doing it for the special type of medical disciplines, because you have to follow evidence-based and new informations and new knowledge. So you always have to ask yourself if you are sure, because the evolution is in every field except the LADA. As you can see, LADA was perfect from the beginning and will be. I couldn't find the new pictures, the latest one, but I'm sure LADA is still the perfect since the beginning, since the 80s, from the last century. So we as an expert, as teachers and also medical expert or healthcare expert, should be able to identify situations that require moving from an intuitive to a more analytic approach. We have to help the students to be able to argue, to discuss it, and to use the evidence-based approaches. And I promise that my presentation won't be so long, so hopefully it wasn't, because we have to always remember that too much teaching kills learning. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your very nice presentation. I kindly asked Georgiana to describe how we received and how we implemented virtual patients in our university, because we had two successful stories very nice. Please.
Hello everyone, it is my pleasure to see you all today and to share some of our experience during the project. This project began, this is the outline of my presentation. The CLEVER project began from the efforts done by our university in order to update learning system. That's why the three interconnected projects were done, and this would have been impossible without our partners from Maastricht University and from Košice as well. Regarding CLEVER project, we had some specific goals mainly to enhance the clinical reasoning and develop decision-making and diagnosing skills among medical students. And all this to be achieved through the creation of 24 virtual cases from various clinical disciplines. The main steps during the project, as seen by us like trained trainers, were first, of course, the training steps, then the ability to create the virtual patients, then to test the virtual scenarios and refine them, so that in the end we were able to actually use them and apply virtual patients through PBL and TBL during UMF days in 2019, and then also during clinical stages with students. But last but not least, use them for teaching during the pandemic, and we will discuss later whether they are online suitable, but although Daniel has already touched this point as well. So regarding to training, we were prepared for virtual patient creation in Puchong in March 2019, and I use this opportunity to thank our tutors who have shared from their huge experience and have helped us focus on how to create the virtual patients, which are the virtual patient delivery systems, what are the best practices and tips and options for the assessment, how can we use this for collaborative learning methods, and how can we integrate them on a platform which can be readily available in our day-to-day practice. So after this very nice experience at Puchong training, we went on to create the 24 VPCs in the various clinical disciplines, authored by experts in the clinical field, but also supported by trained educators from theoretical sciences. We have had the help of our informatics department, who has been very efficiently integrating the virtual patients on the university platform, so we were able to use them very adequately. The next step was testing the virtual patient cases to see whether students would be interested in this type of teaching method. And the first step in this area was to integrate a student-dedicated session at the gastroenterology summer school in 2019, which was organized by Anna Sinyash, and included a student-dedicated session with using 3 VPCs already available on our university platform. As you can see here, we use PBL, and in order to objectively assess the impact this teaching method has had on students, we have also applied a questionnaire to refer to the impact of this teaching approach and compare it with previous classical case presentation. I just want to underline a few of the most significant things. Besides the appreciation for the good organization of the event, all students mentioned that they were able to learn something from this. But more than this, they considered this approach more efficient than the classical clinical presentations. And furthermore, they also consider that this has a higher impact on their ability to apply it practically on patients afterwards. In the end, the students expressed objectively their wish to implement this type of teaching method in the syllabus of all disciplines. After having all these steps done, we went on to using the VPCs during the UMF days in 2019. And students really got involved in this and did the notes, and they were very enthusiastic, and the results of this event have already been presented by Bogdan. We did not stop here because we also used VPCs afterwards, at least in gastroenterology and the nephrology clinical stages, and this is why we consider that VPCs are very suitable in our university for medical teaching with regards to fourth and fifth year students. And most of all, we also consider them extremely useful for teaching the practical part during the pandemic, when the beginning of the pandemic actually, because afterwards we went back to on-site classes. And actually students found this like the closest experience to actually interact with the patient. This leads us to the next question. Would these VPCs have a place, an actual place, very well shaped in the UMF curriculum, considering that they are very easy to implement in the clinical setting? But on the other side, they generate some difficulties relating to the translation approach for fundamental sciences. So one of our proposals would be to organize some trainer sessions with the university staff to make this teaching method more popular and to train objectively and systematically the teaching staff. Of course, 24 virtual patient cases are not enough, and more of them need to be created. And also, a clear percentage of using this method should be also set in the curricula, and maybe about 10% of clinical practical classes could integrate these VPCs. In conclusion, for us, virtual patient training within the project was extremely useful, and it was the perfect background for helping us to create virtual patient cases in UMF and live PBL. And last but not least, these activities were highly appreciated by students who expressed their opinion each time the students I applied this cases that they would like to further use VPCs in their medical education. I want to thank everyone for their involvement in the project, UMF team, but also our trainers who did a great job and inspired us with their enthusiasm for progressing in teaching. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Georgia. Thank you very much. It was a very, very, very nice presentation. And also you talk about how teachers implemented these modern learning techniques. I should like to invite Matei Paulet, who've been decided to represent this very nice and clever team, to tell us their perspective, because it's you've heard only our opinion. So let's find their opinion, live opinions, let's say. Please, Matei.
Hello, my name is Matei, obviously, and I am a student in the 4th year of general medicine, as well as my colleagues, but that would be of more importance in a bit. Here we have some ideas which we think summarize the goals of this project, teaching us the logical way of analyzing cases, development of clinical thinking, but also presenting this medical information in a general way, valid on an international scale, are just a couple of the many advantages such a method of teaching presents. Now, to go a bit more in depth regarding what we find most interesting about this project. The maze-like structure of a clinical case encourages us to, as I already said, use our logical thinking. Instead of simply, for example, memorizing a block of text or during an exam, simply reciting word by word what we have learned, we actually have to take a step back and connect all these dots. For example, the pathology that the patient has, the possible cures or the possible methods that we have to use. All these have to be interconnected in order for us to come with the final solution to the case. What is more, the possibility of supplementing the study of real patients with virtual cases has become a goal worth achieving, especially in a pandemic context. As I mentioned in the beginning, we're in the 4th year, which means that maybe starting the 3rd year, but only in the 4th year, it's way more important for us to actually go inside the hospitals, speak with actual patients, and use the knowledge that we learned from books and apply it. But as you already know, due to all this situation with COVID, it's been way harder for us. Many of the clinics are either closed or prefer to preserve the health of their patient. So it's also of great importance to implement such a method of learning. Now to speak a bit about the two other projects. As it was already mentioned by the teachers, PBL and TBL sessions enable students to see the strengths within each other while developing team skills. And finally, about BCIME, we consider it to be a great step towards the future of learning, since it solves multiple of the main problems that we run into during all these university years. Having this centralized, well schematized, and easy to navigate through database is of great help for our students. In hope of getting this system implemented in the future, we are grateful to be amongst the ones who actually worked and got to see how it all develops. And maybe one day we will probably tell our kids that, you know, the model of learning that you're using was once tested by us and worked upon.
And for the end, I would like to conclude with a few words of to thank you all, because I still remember our first anatomy class when I entered that room. It was a pretty hot day, and our professor came in and took a vertebrate and showed it to us. It was a 3-hour class or a 2-hour class, I can't even remember. And it was one bone. I didn't know very much about bones back then. I didn't know anything about ionic economy or the important functions of bone marrow. And I was thinking to myself, we don't do much, 3 hours for bone, right? And after that class, our professor came to us and said, we will talk about bones more when we learn muscles, when we learn other anatomical structures that will show you that medicine is not only a science, but it's actually the peak of science. So you should have to understand why you are learning things like it. And when we got called in this project, I remember those words. And it was really heartwarming to know that maybe the next year or in 5 years or whatever, people will get less overwhelmed by the shock of the first year in medicine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, all. Thank you very much. I've told you that they are clever. I think that this university has a good future with them. I wanted to check, I invited them to present their thoughts because I wanted to see what they've understood after working in these 3 projects. And I'm really very content about it, believe me. I thank you very much to all of you for all your efforts and for the fact that I didn't, you resisted very much to my pressure. So thank you very much again. So, thank you very much to everybody. I want to thank very much because in fact, the learning platform and these three projects are in fact my legacy. So I do hope that they will be used further and to be improved and to provide better results. Which means, in fact, these results are nothing more than very good doctors. If you succeed to train very good doctors, this university accomplished its mission. If not, we'll have a problem. So it means that I thank very much to all of you because you helped me to be happy. I've been very happy these 3 years, and I'm very sure that will be very nice. Will continue very nice in other projects. So now I invite you and our guests to put questions if you want. I know somebody who told me yesterday that she prepared a lot of questions. So is Ioana there? So
yes, she is.
Hi.
Hi, thank you very much. So you asked me to be the icebreaker, I guess.
Yeah.
I will take gladly the assignment. Thank you very much for having my questions first. First of all, I should tell you about myself that I'm a communication professor. So basically my questions, if not, will be directly directed to the medical field, but then they are very important in terms of how we communicate. So I picked up from the presentations, from Daniel's presentation, the personality issue, and from Andrea's presentation, the overall teaching which kills the learning. And I'm concerned about the mapping of the curriculum as well, if we can extend to some other topics. But I will pick up from what our students said. And while preparing good doctors means of course, having them trained with communication skills as well, and team working skills and everything, as you know perfectly well. So I will go back to Daniel now because it picked up my attention. What would be the take-home message for a professor, for a teacher, for somebody engaged? Because probably we were not perfectly prepared for training online ourselves. I mean, we got better in the last 2 years, but we weren't that good. What are your recommendations and take-home message for us, the professors?
Okay, thank you very much, Ioana, for your question. Do you mean the recommendation for this online period, or can we go back to the more offline?
To the online
for the online. Okay.
Yes, where the personality plays a role.
Okay, so from my point of view, I was a little bit disappointed, or no, not a little bit, but very disappointed by having to stop the, let's say, the collaborative means of learning. Anyway, I'm still using PBL and TBL even in the online, even within the online environment, and the most important thing I've taken from the common TBL, which I'm still practicing in the online TBL, is to leave the students some room for having the opportunity to defend their thoughts. So to have the room to speak up, and then to have to leave the to let them to defend their opinion. So this is for me the most important thing in TBL, and I wanted to leave this single aspect of the TBL in the online version as well. And for the future, we are working with other partners on escape room pedagogy, and I think there are many new emerging trends which will enrich the boring online learning and teaching. An escape room is very promising from my point of view, so that's why I'm still using this. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. So basically, you are envisaging some sort of gamification included in the process.
Yes, this is gamification, but not. But now it's not analogy with the games, but it's a pure game. The escape rooms in teaching. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your reply.
Thank you very much, Ioana. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate. It's the last event of Clever. Next time will not be the next time. So it means that now is the moment. If there are questions, that's the best moment. Yeah, Andrea, please.
I don't want to prolong the meeting, and I have no question, just a note. The clever was the acronym for the project, but hopefully all of us is a little bit more clever afterwards. So hopefully all of you have been enriched today. And I only want to thank Joanna for her very clever input concerning the online education. All of us is quite boring or bored due to so much online meetings. People are expecting that you are in the same time at several meetings because it's just in front of the screen. So I totally agree with Daniel that it could be solved by gamification and making it attractive for students. But maybe sometimes, not maybe, but definitely it's important to let the students in the beginning to speak about their emotions, about their feelings concerning the education and some interruption of their face-to-face contacts. And I know that you can lose some time, but it definitely helps for and enrich the tuition process, and even the understanding that all of us are in the similar situation. We are unsatisfied with this, but still we have a chance to learn and to teach. It's always good. Sorry for this interruption.
Thank you for the interruption, Andrea. Yeah. So thank you very much. I want to thank you all. You've been very clever and very kind. And this acronym we've decided in front of the board. Do you remember, Daniel? It worked perfectly. So it means that we'll finish Clever also. We finished Telson. We finished Tehnici. And let's try to find other opportunities to continue our partnership. Thank you very much, all. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome, Adrian, and thank you also, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for this cooperation.
Bye.
Hopefully this is not the end, but this is the beginning of another phases or cooperation. So thank you so much.
It was a pleasure, Adrian.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of you. Thank you. So let's continue. Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.